Good day, everybody. Welcome back. Well, I've been dabbling with sketch journals for a couple years now, and I thought it would be fun, since we've rolled over into 2023, to go back and look and see what I've been doing in my sketch journals in this last year in 2022. And just so you know, I was already using this particular journal book at the start of 2022, so we'll start where January 1st, or the closest to that date, starts in this one, and then we'll pick up in this book and continue forward to the present. Stay tuned. But first, I think it's a good idea to talk about why I like to journal, and I call these sketch journals, but they're more than that. So for me, these are kind of a multimedia thing. There is some writing, like fountain pen writing. There is a lot of sketching pertaining to ideas, technical ideas. Maybe it's photography related, camera making. Maybe it's making wind turbines out of paper and balsa wood and stuff, which I've done. I also, though, get into collage art. I've been doing that the last couple of years, and I really started enjoying it. So these are really like multimedia kind of brainstorming notebooks that I just capture a lot of ideas into. And also, it's important to point out, I am in no way an artist, but that does not preclude me from sketching. And that should be the same with all of us. I want to encourage you guys, as we go through these notebooks, everybody can do this. This is really your drawing, sketching, documenting ideas, brainstorming for your own self, for your benefit. There's no other audience. You don't have to perform for anybody. So I encourage you, get yourself a little sketch journal book, some pens, pencils, and go to work and have fun with it. But let's go look and see what I was doing back in the year 2022. Well, we'll start with this first notebook. This was an Exceed brand notebook, and this is the kind of notebook that you buy at Walmart for about $5. And this particular one has cream-colored pages, and it has a dot grid. So as you can see here in the preface, I started this in February of 2021 and ended it midway through 2022. I was taking some Fuji Instax instant camera pictures over at Ethan's, and I had this kind of interesting little winter scene of him sitting in a chair. These poems here are with black and white Fuji Instax, and I found myself over the period of the last few years rephotographing this chair repeatedly. These are like little school kids almost. Well, they're full-size adult chairs, but they remind me of school kid chairs. So I was also doing things like typing little notes in a typewriter on stenography paper, and then I'm using a glue stick to glue this in. So it's kind of fun to typewrite and glue things in and then combine it with handwriting. I was definitely getting into collage art, and these are from a Life magazine from the mid-1960s. When I think of the 1960s, I'm thinking of Cold War. My dad worked in the nuclear weapons field in Albuquerque here on Sandia Base, and I saw all these advertisements for these big cars in the 60s. So I started doing this collage, a series that are basically trying to make them look like they are nuclear weapons or warheads or bombs. And this one is made out of a Remington shaver with fins from a car ad. This background was a story in Life magazine about India. And here is a glass of beer that is also an ICBM reentry vehicle warhead. And anyways, this was kind of fun. Oh yeah, this is one of my favorites. These were collaged parts of a automobile ad, a big orange, long, huge car. I don't even know what kind of car it was, but these are like the side panels where the doors are, and the windows became the fins. And then this was also kind of a fun one. This one here was a blue fuzzy Santa hat that we made into a ICBM re-entry vehicle, and it's just kind of fun. This green weapon was supposed to be like maybe a Soviet design weapon, and I actually found a hammer and sickle in one of these articles. And then here is my little Lucky Strike mushroom cloud, which I think is kind of cool. And some more of these same themes. These again, this is made from a car ad. And then I kind of like this one the best, Hope. There's a certain surrealism to this because the picture is in profile while the eyes are looking forward. So it's one of those cubist compositions, and so the lipstick says pretty, and hope, of course. So anyways, that was kind of fun. So also in late December 2021, I had these ideas for a camera that's made of fabric or some kind of flexible light type material. It has a pleat, like an opening where you can load in photo paper and clamp it shut. And then it uses one large pleat to collapse the camera down so it's flat, and then you can open it up. It's like one bellows pleat. The whole thing is. This is the way the panels go together, and so you could have a large square of photo paper in it. It'll collapse down to as flat as your phone is or something, and then it'll just pop open and you'll have one shot. Anyway, that was kind of an interesting idea. I worked on this idea before repeatedly, but as we actually get into 2022, I started thinking about my mental model of time, how I look at time. And one of the things was how I look at the week is I see the week as kind of an oval with Saturday and Sunday on one side, and then starting at Monday goes through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's the way I picture the weeks. I picture the years kind of the same way, with it's like November, December on the close side, and then it starts with late winter and spring, and summer's on the other side. And then I also have this timeline for how I look at the years going back in time, and it kind of winds its way back through the centuries. This is just like a physical representation in my mind, and so I kind of re-sketch those ideas here a little bit more. I'm using, by the way, a brush pen, which you might be interested in. Let's see if we can find it here. This is the Pentel brush pen. It has a cap that comes off, and it literally is a flexible brush tip, and it has dark ink, and the ink is replaceable in cartridges, just like fountain pen, but it's a special ink that's sort of like India ink. These are great pens for very expressive drawing, so I love that. So anyways, that's what these thick lines were, and the pressure of the brush pen you can vary to get different thin or thick lines. Okay, more blogging about typewriters. Okay, here is a roll film camera concept using photo paper, box camera, a 3D printed lens cone, just different ideas, and these were other ideas for what we ended up calling the aardvark camera, with an arm sleeve and a tilting film back that you can reach in the arm sleeve and load the paper. More ideas for what we call the aardvark camera. Again, more sketches. Here I'm doing red and blue gel pens, and I was really enjoying those. You can see this really expressive line here with the brush pen. You can get very thick or thin lines as you want. Again, more ideas for the collapsible camera that we looked at earlier. These are like hard panels that are taped together with flexible gaffer's tape to make a collapsible box with a sheet of photo paper loaded into it. And then in early January, I started to play around with diazo paper. This was a paper that's used to print drafting sketches back in the old days using ultraviolet light and developed in ammonia. So I was doing a series of exposure tests, trying to get the exposure and the developing down. Here's a grayscale test, and I was making notes about that. And finally, I actually had some decent results here. This was a scene from the world-famous Joe Van Cleve backyard. Yeah. So this particular exposure, I first of all pre-flashed it with an LED light panel for 3 minutes, and then I exposed it for 2 hours and 15 minutes out in the scene using my 4x5 camera, and then I developed it in ammonia vapors for 35 minutes. And then I started sketching ideas for cardboard film holders and various layers of cardboard to make sheet film holders, and then some sketches about the actual dimensions that you would use for a cardboard film holder. And I'm using some interesting little typographical kind of styles where I'm making the first letter of each word of the title kind of a cartoon style, and then I'm coloring it in with gel pen. It's just another little affectation I kind of like to do. So this was a cigar band from a cigar, which I kind of like the embossed artwork, and this was an old Google Play card that I found on the sidewalk as I was going for a walk. Oh yeah, this is long-lasting flavor. This was a pack of chewing gum. I taped it up here, and then I made a hinge so they had a cartoon on the backside of this chewing gum pack, and I thought it was kind of funny that you could flip it up, and I wrote, "It's just like Bazooka Joe, only not so funny," if you remember Bazooka Joe. Anyways, and this border is also done with the brush pen. This was an idea, so we're up to the 30th of January. My goodness, we're only still in January. This was an idea for hooking up my Sony Handycam camcorder through a VCR into a black and white TV, and then videoing the black and white TV with a digital camera, which I did back in January for live streaming. And this is more of the diazo paper prints, a little bit of typewritten poetry here, more diazo camera ideas, storage slots to store exposed and unexposed paper, more diazo pictures, so more collage art. This is from the Life magazine, again from the mid-1960s, and I was just amazed at all these cigarette ads. So he gave life. Yes, he gave life. Anyway, that's just kind of cute. This is actually about the presentation I made for Virtual Hermans last year. And then this one was kind of fun. I was driving across town, and there was a beater car driving on the line between lanes. This was a 3-lane road, and they were kind of weaving around, and of course it's Albuquerque, so they're probably drunk. Who knows? But I come up with, off the top of my head, the word scruffians, so like scruffy ruffians or something. So I kind of documented the point at which I thought of that word, which is kind of a funny thing to do in a sketchbook. This was episode 299 of the typewriter video series. I was looking at keyboard layouts for typewriters. What side of the keyboard is the backspace and the margin release, the left or right side? So this was kind of a little document of that data collection. And then this is one of these Polaroid zinc cameras that takes digital pictures and prints them on a thermal printing paper, makes color pictures, and these have an adhesive backing, a peel-off backing. They're kind of really handy for doing quick little pictures that you can stick in your notebooks, but the colors are very wonky at times. Anyways, here I was documenting how I took out the platen out of my Royal Mercury because I sent it off to J.J. Short to get recovered. And then this was more Polaroid zinc pictures that I was just documenting, and I really think this false color striping when you're trying to do black and white is very funny in this picture. This was a diorama of my abacus collection that I had set up at a library in a neighboring community of Rio Rancho, and it was just notes about the history of the abacus and how I was going to lay those out. More abacus history, a little bit about how abacus math works, more abacus stuff. So again, I get into these various topics and I start fixating on them. Kowloon Walled City, labyrinthine, mysterious. That's interesting. More kind of blog writing. Oh, here we go. Interesting stickers I got in the mail, and I just decided to stick them down and make little, I don't know, little pieces of art. Maybe it's art. It's just kind of funny. And I come up with this idea called Make Every Day Count, Medco. Make Every Day Count. Oh yeah, the matrix of pencil grips. This was actually something Ethan and I were playing around with. So this is about tactical knurling. You know, the knurling on the grip of a pencil. I thought it was pretty funny. Hot knurling, see the knurl, be the knurl. It's just hilarious if you have a perverted sense of humor. A little bit of typewritten notes that I cut up and taped into the book. This was the solution of a YouTube puzzle. More abacus math stuff, abacus thoughts. This is a fixture for soldering brass washers onto brass tubes to make Soroban-style brass abacus beads. Another idea, another abacus construction idea. And now we're up to the 10th of May, and this particular book is finished. And so now we get into the second book. So rather than a store-bought book, this was a homemade book that Ethan helped me make. And this is made from 32-pound laser paper, hand-stitched with, sewn-in stitching, kind of a cardboard cover, and we're using this adhesive vinyl shelf liner material. I made this in January 2021, but I actually started it on the 10th of May 2022. So this was just an idea. I was just documenting a pencil holder box that Ethan had laser cut a long time ago using interlocking slotted laser cut pieces of thin plywood and little holes in the box. That was kind of funny. Oh yeah, I should probably mention I was doing this little affectation here. It's like a tic-tac-toe grid of red gel pen, and then I would write the date, 10th of May, 1 space 0 MAY 22. It was just a way of writing the date down. I just started doing that. I thought it was funny. Okay, here's an interesting thing. I sketched the picture of me holding this Pilot Plumix fountain pen. Why the grip is important. And on the Pilot Plumix, it has a triangular grip. There's 3 rounded sides to it. And so I started sketching my hand holding it, and then I made note of the 2 contact points, or the 3 contact points between my finger and the pen, and then I drew a cross section. Like if you were to slice my fingers in half, you have the pen, and here's the cross section of my fingers, including the meat and the bones, just documenting where the contact points are on the pen and why it feels so good. I thought that was very funny. Oh yeah, some new design of an abacus frame. Right, some interesting stuff there. More abacus frame design and more abacus stuff. Some thoughts about glass pens. I was using a glass pen, writing with India ink, and it wrote okay. Oh yeah, this was my design for the little microcassette tape box that holds the microcassettes, and I mail them, and it was just cut out from this pattern, measured in millimeters, I think. Anyways, it was kind of fun. Here's one that's kind of fun, is I typed a letter to somebody. This was actually to Gregory Short, and I took a photo of the letter with my phone, and then I printed the image of the letter onto this zinc paper. And even though it's only like 2 by 3 inches or whatever, you can actually read it. It's actually amazing I can read this. So it's kind of an interesting way to archive your typewritten sheets in little small photo prints that you could stick on paper and put them in a notebook somewhere. It's kind of interesting. And then I was just being silly here, and I was drawing the Turkish bath towel of downtrodden love, which is a big bath towel that I throw on the floor when I'm next to the shower, and then the flying carpet of consolation. And this was the thickly folded, sound-deadening typing pad of late night frenzy, because I fold that towel up and I also use it as a typing pad for some of my typewriters. And then this is the towel draped over the glass door of my shower, the glass shower door wiping cloth extraordinaire. This is like just silly kind of, stream of consciousness sketching. This was a bug, drawing of a bug that we saw outside in Ethan's yard, and I just kind of sketched it. Oh, this is the Moebius strip project. And this is an idea for dioramas that you could fit into cameras and photograph like layers of objects, layered staging. Okay, here we get into some really fun collage art. This was, again, partly from the Life magazine, but also from other advertisements and things like that. And I'm just going to let you guys read it. You can pause the video if you want to study these in more detail. Here's something that Ethan was writing in some scraps of paper about 3 Mile Island, just his handwriting in pencil. And then I took it and put it into a typewriter and retyped between the lines, which I kind of thought was kind of fun, and kind of reappropriating someone else's writing and then commenting on it. But anyway, so we have some more collage art here. This is definitely from the 1960s Life magazine. This one here is very fun. This honeycomb pattern paper I think I got from Ted Monk or somebody like that. This was the plastic storage bin that I'm currently using to store the Corona 3, and this was actually the label that went on the box. And I found it was kind of fun to stick product labels in the notebook, because then I can write and talk about it. And you'll notice I'm doing fountain pen block cartoon lettering colored in with red gel pen, which is kind of an interesting effect. Oh yeah, so this was some ideas for, I started getting interested in wind turbines, and I have a whole nother sub notebook here that I started about wind turbines. But anyways, before we get into that, I did write something about the Groma Colibri, Svelte Svetlana of Stealth, Compact Clandestine Clacker, Dictating the Dictator's Demise, Hidden Under the Floorboards of Life. And of course, that's referring to the movie The Lives of Others, which the Groma Colibri typewriter played a major role in. So this was here an idea for a Savonius style wind turbine. And then we get into the Cherry Hills Library type-in. I had a little flyer that we had printed and another cigar band, which of course is kind of cool. They're embossed, printed really nicely. Some Polaroid 600 film. So I had my Polaroid SX70 converted to 600 film, started doing some stream of consciousness writing with the brush pen right here. This was a paper collage art thing of papers that I got from Ted Monk a few years ago, including these little Japanese papers, and I did this little colored thing here. It's kind of fun. More collage art. This was just various kinds of papers and labels and stickers. This, again, is more of Ted Monk's papers that he sent me over the years. This right here was an experiment in taking the 2-inch wide clear packing tape, rubbing it onto a magazine illustration, and then in warm water you take the tape and you rub off the paper backing, and it leaves just the ink on the back side of the tape, and then you stick the tape down to a notebook to white paper, and you get this transfer of the ink image off of a magazine through the tape onto paper, which is a cool idea, I think. There was an article in the New York Times Weekend magazine or whatever it was about Admiral Hyman Rickover, the father of the nuclear navy, and then there was also something about the control panel, and I kind of made this Victory at Sea submarine Hyman Rickover kind of themed thing. More sticker art that people have sent me over the years, and again, more stickers that I find from various places. Here's a little letter that Ted typed me on this really thin kind of Japanese style paper, and also some more Ted Monk stuff. These were little cards. It's sort of like The Gathering, which is a role-playing game, and I kind of saved all these and made a little thing out of them like that. Okay, these are kind of fun. These are collages from pictures I got out of magazines, and then I had some thermal typewriter stream of consciousness typing that I just combined into these little pieces, and you can pause the video if you wish and read these. It's not great poetry, but it is kind of an interesting mashup of pictures and text. And then this is some more collage art with typewritten stuff that's pasted in there. Here is the oatmeal exfoliant almond ginger scented French milled soap wrapper, and it does give a slight smell to the notebook, but I just sort of just collaged them in with different stuff. Oh yeah, here's a fun one. We're up to September of 2022. This was the lady at the library. This was an old black and white photo, and I made a little flying saucer like they're running from the flying saucer. I went to a basement film show in September, real live films from their archives. Now this here is kind of fun. This was a collage using a gift bag from Starbucks that I then collaged some tissue paper onto to make like shading and coloring and stuff like that. So I thought it was kind of fun. Okay, this is more pixelator camera ideas using the straw camera and a way of synthesizing or simulating the pixelator camera with a intermediate pinhole in behind the grid. And this was kind of like a nomograph, or a way to accurately draw the light ray paths and then measure the widths and come up with tables of numbers and graph the numbers on homemade graphs. This is like what you would do nowadays in database software and scientific software, but I'm doing on pen and paper by hand, which is kind of fun. Dear Angry Driver. Now this is typed onto an old brown paper sack. I don't know what typewriter it was. What was it that motivated you to angrily careen around the corner onto my street, blowing past the stop sign late in the evening with no headlights, then accelerate down the street in a gasoline rage? Anyways, I was just typing a rant onto a piece of paper. Dear Lady with a Little White Dog, and you can read it at your own leisure there. I just thought it was very funny. And also I'm doing the date with the brush pen in kind of a sloppy style, which is kind of fun. More of the falling shutters operated by threads. And I did vote, And I had this little funny little ink style sketch. This is the I voted sticker that they give you when you vote. I always knew I was better than you, and that makes me better than you because I voted yes. That was a funny little thing. November 1st. I didn't draw on this side because the brush pen tends to bleed through if you do it heavily. This was a piece of paper that I found in the gutter walking around my neighborhood. It's lined notebook paper. It's a piece of notebook paper. Someone has drawn in it in blue marker pen, and then it got wet in the rain and the ink lines kind of bled, but they were drawing kind of a simple dog like with pointed ears and 4 little stick legs and a tree, a couple trees, and then they X'd it out. And I just thought it was so funny of a drawing. So I bought one of these 3-drawer cube stacks for 8.5 by 11 that I'm storing some typing paper in on the shelves behind me. This was the sticker. I can put the sticker in my book and document that. Oh, okay. In late November, I get COVID, and this is the instruction sheet for the test. I just cut all the pictures out, and I made a cartoon-style flowchart showing you the order in which you do the test. And then at the end of it, go back to start. Okay, this was fun. This is the diorama pinhole camera idea, where inside the camera you have objects, translucent objects that will be part of the image. The light passes through them, so the image outside the camera gets recorded on the photo paper, but you also have objects inside the camera that become part of the scene. And I really like the way I did this kind of cartoon style drawing with heavy shadows and cross-hatch shading and all that, using a variety of pens, the brush pen, but also using one of these 4-color ballpoint pens for the different fine lines here. Then on the 6th of December, this leaf I found in Ethan's front yard, and this is with the Splendid 33. I typed a poem. This was found on my video table here, this table. I found this random scrap of brown paper. This is not a random note typed onto it with a German typewriter by a sick fool with an even worse sense of humor. Well, obviously I was using one of the German typewriters, but I don't know which one it was, and so that's kind of funny. This was dinner at Panda Express, and my little fortune cookie was, "You are compassionate and fun-loving, beef and broccoli bowl, and yes, Mexican Fanta, cap, hammered down flat, glued with a hot glue gun." We drove up to Panda Express, parked, I walked in, didn't take very long. Meanwhile, the drive-through line didn't move at all. It's always better to shut off the engine and walk in to order. This was just a little poem I wrote about everybody coming over for a Christmas Eve party. This was Whataburger. My grandson brought me a strawberry shake and French fries, and so I took the wrapper from the French fry pack, glued it in here, made a little collage art about it. Box wine, yes, cheap box wine. This is a little cardboard round thing you press in to open it up, and I have a thing called concealed carry, which is you put the red wine in a coffee cup and nobody can tell what you're drinking. And I kind of like the little crosshatch style ink work and the little dribbly red wine coming out of the box. And finally, more recently, 27th of December, this is one of these zinc prints of my IBM Selectric 1. This picture I sent to Ted. And this was Mimi's brand gourmet little cherry tomatoes. This is a little wrapper off the thing. I'm not crazy about mini tomatoes, but I do like their label. And then this was today, January 2nd. This is a whole new year. We can't even talk about this because this is the next year. So that's the end of the year 2022 in my sketch journal, encompassing both of these books. And also some of the tools I use. This is the Pilot Plumix fountain pen. This is the Pentel brush pen. This is the Jetstream 4-in-1. It's 4 different colored ballpoints plus a mechanical pencil, so there's actually 5 in one. But wait, there's more. This is a 3D printed pen with a blue gel pen cartridge in it, and there is a fat Sharpie marker, and finally there is a sand eraser and another kind of an eraser for pencils. And then I'm using one of these Dux Unlimited leather and olive green fabric eyeglass case to put all of my pens in, and I really like having this case to put pens in. This is a magnetically closed little box, and it makes a real handy thing. This is my little kit here for sketching. Well, I hope you liked a look through in my sketch journaling for the last year. It's not fancy art. It's not intended to be. It's just for myself. But I thought it would be good to share this with you because it could inspire you to grab yourself an inexpensive little journal book. I think personally, by the way, that unlined journal books are probably the best because you can write in them and you can draw in them. There's no lines or dots to interfere with the drawing. Anyways, grab yourself a few pens, different styles of pens, markers, gel pens if you like, mechanical pencil, fountain pen, whatever. Having a hodgepodge of them and having a little carrying pouch or container to carry your pens and pencils in is really good. And then carry it with you, and anytime you have something going on, just write it in there and also throw it in like a scrapbook. Throw in receipts and stickers and labels and all that, and then make collage art out of it. It's a lot of fun. I think it's a great creative outlet. And as always, stay creative and have yourselves a great day. Bye-bye for now.